Let's have a look at proportion. Proportion is the relationship between two numbers. We get direct proportion and inverse proportion or indirect proportion. And let's have a look at the difference between those two relationships. Okay, when something is in direct proportion, it means that the ratio between the two values stay the same. So when one value increases, the other one increases also. Let's have a look at our values that we've got here. We've got 60 kilometers in 1 hour. If we increase the hour by 1, then our distance will increase by 60. Can you see that there's a direct proportion, or these two values increases? The one increases, the other one increases. So if we travel for 3 hours, we're going to travel an extra 60 kilometers, and that's where the 180 comes from. So if we add another 60, then it means that we traveled another hour, so we can sort of fill in there. It's going to be 4 hours. What's very nice is that we've got a formula to determine whether it's a direct proportion. The formula is x divided by y is equal to k. K is a constant. If k stays the same after we've done this for all the numbers, then we know that we've got a direct proportion. Okay, let's have a look if we've got a direct proportion. We'll take our first two numbers, 60 kilometers in 1 hour, swap it out for the x and the y. So then it'll be 60 over 1 is equal to 60 divided by 1 is 60. So this is k. If k stays constant for all these numbers, we know that we've got a direct proportion. So we're going to swap out the second one and have a look if we get 60 again. So 120 instead of the x, 2 instead of the y, and 120 divided by 2 is 60. Yes, we got 60, so that means that we've got a direct proportion. Very nice. We can use this formula to find out what the missing values is in the table. We already know that this is a 4 because we saw the pattern. Each time we add 1 hour, 60 kilometers got added, and that's why we know this is a 4. But over here we've got the 8, so if we just swap out the 8, we can use our algebra in our equation. Remember that k is equal to 60. We already determined it when we did these two. So we can swap out k for 60. The x value we don't have, but the y value we do. So let's almost swap that out. So we've got, instead of the x, well, we write the x because we don't have the x. Instead of the y, we write 8. And instead of k, we write 60. So now we're going to cross multiply. So let me just write it like this. 60 over 1. We can cross multiply. So x is equal to 8 times 60, which is equal to 420. So then we can write in our 420 over there. Very nice. We can also do the other way around. Over here we don't have the y value, so we can swap out the y value. Let's do that quick. Let me just fill in the numbers that we've already got. We've got the 4, got 420 over there. So we're going to swap out the 600 for x. Remember, k is a constant of 60, so we'll swap that out. So let's put 600 at the top. Y we don't have, but k we know is 60. There we go. So we'll use our algebra again. So it's 600 over y is equal to 60 over 1. And then we can cross multiply. So 60 times y is 60y. And 600 times 1 is 600. Remember, we want to get the y all by itself, so then we'll divide by 60 on both sides. Divide by 60. So then we'll end up with y equals 600 divided by 60 is 10. And then we can fill it in on the table. With the inverse proportion, as the one value increases, the other one will decrease. So it's different to the direct proportion, where both values increased. In our example, we've got a tank full of water, and as we put water into the tank, the space in the tank decreases. So if we put in 3 liters, there will be space for 4 liters in the tank. If we put in 4 liters, there will only be space for 3, and so on and so on. So you can see that as this one increases, the values on this side decreases. Okay, we've got a very nice formula that we can use to see whether it's an inverse proportion, and also to work out values if we have an inverse proportion. And that formula is x multiplied by y is equal to k. Remember that k is a constant. In our direct proportion, k was also a constant. And if we get the same value for k in all our pairs of values, then we know that we've got an inverse proportion. Okay, let's do that for the first pair. There we've got a 3 and a 4, so we'll swap out the x for a 3 and the y for a 4. So then we'll have 3 times 4 is equal to 12. If that works for our second pair, we also get 12. Then we know we've got an inverse proportion. So let's swap out the x for a 4 and the y for a 3. And 4 times 3 is 12. Very nice. So we know that the value of k is 12, and we've got an inverse proportion. So we'll use that to work out our missing values in the table. Okay. Remember, we just worked out that k is equal to 12, so I'm just going to write it down here for us. Let's swap out our first value. We've got the y value, so we just have to work out what the x value is. For the x we don't have, so x, but the y we know that's a 2, and we do know that k is 12. So 2x is equal to 12. We have to divide by 2 on both sides in order to get x all by itself. So x is equal to 6. Very nice. We can write in the 6 over there. In the next example, we do have the x value, but we need the y value. So let's swap out the x value. The x value is going to be, so I'll use a different color. The x value in this instance is going to be 7. The y we're not sure, and k we know is going to be 12. To get the y all by itself, we divide by 7 on both sides. And then we have y is equal to 12 over 7. Or we can simplify it even further by saying y is equal to 1 and 5 over 7. So let's write that in there. 1, 5 over 7. Nice. Okay, and then for our last one, there we've got an 8. We're going to swap out the x for an 8, so it's going to be 8y, excuse me, is equal to 12. Exactly the same. We need to get the y by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 8, and then we can say y is equal to 12 over 8. We can simplify that by taking out the holes. We know that there's one hole there, so let's say y is equal to 1 and 4 over 8. And we can simplify it even further by saying y is equal to 1.5. Very nice. So over there we can just write in 1.5.